Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I'm going to put a short shifter in a 2013 Subaru STI. Figured I'd do a little walkthrough video for you guys, show you how it's done. Alright, let's get started. Okay, first things first, we got to get the center console out. We're going to start by taking the boot off of your emergency brake. You can just pull up on it. I already popped this one loose, or you can use like a fork tool or a putty knife. Just be careful not to scratch the interior. But once you do that, you're going to find a screw, one Phillips screw right here in the very front. I already loosened these up ahead of time. And then open the lid to your center console. You can find two 10mm bolts. You can use a Phillips too, but it's easier with a 10mm. Go ahead and pull those out. Once those are out, you can pull up and your console should come loose. You can just tip this one back, keep it out of the way for now. We're going to move on to taking the front half and the shifter off. Okay, next step, just turn the shift knob counterclockwise. It'll unthread, comes right off. Once you do that, grab your boot, and you're going to want to pull the boot up over the top. Take that off. Then what you're also going to do is grab the upper console piece, and if you pull straight up on it, it should pop the back loose, and then you kind of wiggle a little bit and the front will come out. And take that cover off. You can set it off to the side, and now we just have the bare shifter. Okay, once you're at the bare shifter, you're going to find two retaining clips, one in the front, one in the rear. They look like this. You got a flathead screw slot on the top. Just unthread them and they'll come out. Once those come out, you can go ahead and take the lower boot cover off and get access to the rest of the shifter. Bare shifter now. Go ahead, there's a bolt that runs through the linkage. I already took the nut off. It's a 12mm on both sides. Loosen it up, hold one side, take it off, release the shifter from the arm, and then there's a C-clip. You will need a pair of snap ring pliers. You're going to squeeze it. It's an inside snap ring. Squeeze it and pop it out. Once you get that off, you can just pull straight up and pull your shifter out. Okay, next step at this point, you're going to remove this little cover. Two Phillips screws on the bottom side. I've already taken them out. I'll show you what they look like. They're just a two coarse thread Phillips screws. Take that off so your cap is loose. Now, this is it's not bad. It's a tricky part, but we're going to need to knock this pin out to hold the shifter that holds the shifter together. So what I use is I have a little Torx. Works pretty good. You're just going to put it, on the edge of the hole. Give it a couple taps. I already did that until you see the pin start to come out on the other side. Then we're going to grab it with a pair of pliers and pull it out. Okay, so I got the roll pin completely out. Once you do that, you'll see the reverse lockout pops up. Just go ahead and pull it off. Take the spring and the tap with it. Set it off to the side. Now you should be able to just pull the cable completely out of the shifter, like so. Okay, now that we have the shifter out, compare them side to side, you can see there's really not much difference on the leverage throw on this shifter. It's basically just a length that makes it a little bit shorter. This one's got a machine ball on the end. The other one has a Teflon ball. So what we're going to just do now is pop off the socket that the ball rests in. I'm going to go get some grease, put it on there, and we're just going to pop it onto the new shifter. Put a little bit of grease in it, keep the bushing from wearing out, and then we're going to start to put it back together. Okay, I got it all greased up, ready to go, put back in. But we're going to do some work underneath the car. And the next step, you're going to notice if you try to do this when you put the reverse lockout cable, there's a hole in it which lines up with that roll pin, but it's impossible with the reverse lockout cable hooked up on the other end to actually get the pin to line up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to raise the car in the air and get underneath and release that cable so we can put the shifter back together. And I also have some bushings I'm going to put in while we're underneath there. So get the socket ready, get the shifter ready, and now we're going to get the car in the air. Alright, so I'm underneath the car, and what we're looking for to remove the reverse lockout cable is on the driver's side of the transmission towards the rear. You're going to look for where the cable attaches. Now there's a hole in the actual transaxle and the linkage. I like to put a cotter pin in that hole just to keep the arm from popping forward when we pull the cable off. Just makes it easier when you put it back together, but if you don't, no big deal. You can just let it release and it's going to swivel to the front. But there's a washer and a C-clip, not a C-clip, I'm sorry, kind of like a cotter pin clip that goes onto this cable. You're going to remove those from that holder on the end and grab a screwdriver and we'll just pop the cable on. Just grab your screwdriver. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. Cotter pins in there and just pop the cable off. Cotter pin keeps this from swiveling back, but no big deal. You can easily move it if you don't have a cotter pin. So we're ready to go back up top and connect the shifter. Okay, we're back up top now, and I went ahead and slid the cable back into the reverse lockout, and you'll notice there's not much tension on it. I have a little tiny screwdriver that I use, and I like to line up the hole, and I'll just put the pin through the hole to make sure that it's lined up, and then we're going to go ahead and put, but actually before you do that, put the spring and the cap back on, and now we're going to put the actual lockout lever back onto the shifter using the same screwdriver to line up the holes, and then we will put the roll pin back in on the back side. So I'm going to go ahead and set that on there and get it lined up. Lever on, it might be tricky, it might take you a couple times because sometimes even with no tension on that inner cable, you're going to push it back down, but keep trying. And then the way to make sure that you're actually locked into the hole is once you have the screwdriver through the shifter, try and pull the cable, and it should stop. When it stops, then you know you're locked into the hole. You can go ahead and see I'm actually pulling the shifter down with it. Once you have it like that, now we're going to put the roll pin in from the back side without pulling the screwdriver all the way out to make sure that we don't lose that cable. Okay, so what I've done is I started the roll pin. I got it to catch the cable while the screwdriver's still in there. You can see that it's actually attached to the cable. It comes down. Once you're sure that you got it locked up, then go ahead and tap the roll pin in the rest of the way. Alright, roll pin's completely in, flush. Don't forget, here's the two little screws I didn't show you the first time. We're going to screw this plastic cap back on and then put the shifter back in. Alright, I snapped the C-clip around the bottom of the arm. You can see it there. Grease everything up good and then basically push it down until it clicks. Try to do this with one hand without. Got the shifter down all the way. Now, before you put this bolt back in, it's much easier to put the C-clip in first, so I'm going to clip that real quick. And alright, I got the retaining clip back in. Make sure you push it all the way down so it actually clicks into place. Pull up on it, make sure it's not going to come out. Once that happens, just put your bracket back on for the shifter. And then this kit came with a neat zip tie. If not, grab a new one and then put the tie strap back around where the old one was to secure the cable. And then we'll go ahead and start putting it back together. Okay, I got the tie strap on. One more thing I wanted to add is the bolt that runs through the shifter has a locking aviation style nut on the back side. You don't want to crank that down because you don't want it to bind up on the bushing. Just get it snug, leave it there, and it should work fine. You don't want it to bind up on you. So we're going to put the boot back on, put the top of the console back on, and then go underneath. We'll hook the linkage back up and make sure it works. Alright, so I went ahead and reattached the cable, put the cotter key back on there, and then also don't forget to pull the cotter pin if you did use one out of the hole so the reverse lock will work. We're just about done, but there's one more point I want to touch on these STIs when you put the short shifter in. There's a heat shield you're going to need to drop out of the way, but a mistake I see a lot of people make is when you put the short shifter, it actually drops the length on the reverse lockout cable to where it hits the drive line. So what I do is I just put two tie straps to pull it up and give you that extra clearance. If not, you're going to feel a little vibration in your shifter and eventually wear a hole. So real important. I have this one out because I'm changing the rear bushing out too, but there's a heat shield with 4 12mm bolts. You just drop it loose and you can actually just reach up there. You don't have to take it all the way out of the way. I got all that secured. I'm going to trim these tie straps and we'll go up and see if it works. Alright, back inside the car. Everything back together. Everything works. It's a lot tighter than it was before, a lot shorter. And the main thing is make sure your reverse lockout works. There is some adjustment on that cable. I've never had to adjust one, but you never know. You might. Usually they're pretty good. And that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching.